On now to Eastern Europe, where Russian President Vladimir Putin welcomed international leaders at the Kremlin on Thursday ahead of Victory Day celebrations. More than 20 foreign heads of state, including China's Xi Jinping and Brazil's Lula da Silva, are expected at the May 9th military parade in Moscow's Red Square. The parade marks 80 years since the defeat of Nazi Germany. Around 27 leaders are set to attend, according to the Kremlin. Originally, 29 were due, but Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev and Laos's President Thongloun Sisoulith cancelled. This show of support comes as Europe continues efforts to isolate Moscow diplomatically. Ukraine, which has stepped up drone strikes on the Russian capital ahead of the parade, condemned the presence of foreign leaders, calling it a sign of backing for Putin's three-year war on its territory. The gathering also signals Moscow's deepening ties with allies, and even as relations with Washington show signs of cautious re-engagement. Let's take a listen in to what the Russian president had to say.
Прежде всего, сердечно приветствую и благодарю вас, наших надежных друзей и партнеров. Вы приехали в Москву, чтобы разделить с нами радость праздника Победы над нацизмом, почтить память героев, спасших человечество. 9 мая – священная дата для нашего многонационального народа. Дорогие друзья, позвольте предложить тост за поколение победителей, за великую победу, за мир и благополучие, за вас, за наших друзей.
Staying in the same story now, US President Donald Trump is pushing for a 30-day unconditional ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. He warned that Washington and its allies will impose tougher sanctions if the ceasefire is broken. Ukraine has welcomed the proposal, with President Volodymyr Zelensky saying Kyiv is ready to begin a 30-day truce starting this minute. In a phone call with President Trump on Thursday, Zelensky also said Ukraine is open to talks with Russia in any format, but only after a full and unconditional ceasefire. Trump said the ceasefire must pave the way to a peace deal and added he's ready to assist negotiations at any moment. Meanwhile, Russia has only proposed a 3-day pause to coincide with this Victory Day celebration. Ukraine has dismissed Moscow's proposal as a farce, accusing Russia of violating its own ceasefire within hours. The Trump-Zelensky call reportedly went very well, lasting about 20 minutes and also touching on a newly ratified minerals deal. We are joined by Ross Feingold, political risk analyst located in Taipei, Taiwan, to discuss this in more detail. Ross, thank you very much for joining us. I want to start with these Victory Day celebrations and the allies that have joined in Moscow today. This includes President Lula da Silva, this includes Nicolas Maduro, 25 other leaders from around the world. And obviously we're missing Xi Jinping, the president of China. What does this say about where Russia stands diplomatically? There's 27 is a lot of world leaders, and there's many powerful world leaders at this gathering in the Red Square. Where does Russia stand diplomatically amid all these Western sanctions?
Over the past 3+ years since Russia invaded Ukraine in February of 2022, there have been a number of countries worldwide, including in places like Africa, the Middle East, and South America, that have not taken sides, and they've retained a dialogue and relations with Russia. They've not joined in international sanctions, and that's just the reality of the geopolitical map at the moment. So it's not a surprise that some of those countries that did not take a side have sent high-level representation to the victory parade in Moscow today.
Yes, and Ross, obviously President Xi Jinping is the guest of honor. He arrives with many people calling China an enabler in this war. Does Beijing recognize any reputational cost if that narrative hardens in the Western world?
They probably made that assessment in Beijing long ago, and they're able to continue with their close relationship with Russia. Obviously, They're a great customer for Russian energy, and they also sell a lot of manufactured goods to Russia that Russia does not manufacture on its own. And the concern of the United States and the Western European countries during this time has been that China might sell lethal technologies or even dual-use technologies to Russia that would help the Russian military prosecute the war in Ukraine. So throughout this period of the war in Ukraine, there's certainly been periodic criticism of China and China's continued engagement, whether politically or economically, with Russia. But it's clear that the Chinese side has said, we're going to live with that criticism and we're not going to end our good relationship with Russia.
Yes, and Ross, obviously we are in the midst of this 3-day ceasefire proposed by Vladimir Putin to mark this 80-year centenary of the defeat of Nazi Germany in World War II. Repeated violations, allegations from each side. What is your thoughts going into peace negotiations for a 30-day ceasefire if seemingly they can't keep it together for 3 days?
Even if the two sides do follow a 3-day ceasefire, at the risk of stating the obvious, it's going to be over in 3 days. So I think both sides, both Russia and Ukraine, are posturing for what a 30-day ceasefire might look like. Obviously, up to now, despite threats of potentially walking away from this process by the Trump administration, the Trump administration is still engaged in trying to bring about a 30-day ceasefire. That comes right from the mouth of President Trump. So his team is still working on that. There's still potential, however unlikely that might occur. And I think Russia and Ukraine are trying to change the facts on the ground going into a 30-day ceasefire. So the coming days are going to be very interesting to watch to see what kind of military action each side takes while these 30-day ceasefire talks continue under the leadership of the United States. Is it going to succeed? We simply don't know at the moment.
Ross, quickly, we are running out of time, but I just want to get your thoughts on where the Trump administration lies currently. Obviously, we've seen Trump's opinions and where he stands in this conflict flap around side to side. Where right now do you think he is?
I think President Trump still at the moment wants to play a role. He wants his team to play a role in a 30-day ceasefire. They haven't walked away yet. They've made that threat, but until President Trump says, we're out of here, we're not going to talk either side into a long-term ceasefire, until that moment comes, it looks like the Trump administration is still engaging both sides.
Ross Feingold, thank you very much for your insight as always. Well, that is all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more international